Hello, dear Paul the Insurer community. Today I have a big honor and privilege to talk to Santiago Gómez. Santiago is the winner of the 2020 Captive Risk Manager of the Year, and he was in the top 20 captive owners of 2024. Welcome, Santiago.
Hello, Irma. Thank you very much for having me here, and it's my pleasure just to have here with you.
Thank you. We are also pretty happy. Santiago, you are head officer of PMEX and you have over 20 years of international experience within the reinsurance industry. You've also previously spent 9.5 years at AXA. That's quite a large insurance experience, and we have a couple of topics today that we would like to talk to you about. I would like to start with captive management and corporate risk strategy. And as the CFO of PMEX Captive in Switzerland, I would like to ask you to just give us a short overview of what you are exactly doing there, and also maybe give us a little update about what is PMEX, because maybe not everybody will know that. Please.
So, as any other captive in the world, the jurisdiction of Switzerland, it's well known for having the nice regulation for the captives. So this is why many companies, among them PMEX, decided just to put his captive in Switzerland. What we are doing here on behalf of our shareholder is an oil producer from Mexico and have all the risk managed by just the oil industry. So what we are doing here is just manage the captive and trying just to provide coverage on the insurance and reinsurance manner for our shareholder.
That's good to hear, and that leads to my first question. What has been the most strategic advantage that a captive brings to a large multinational like PMEX today?
I would say that in general, the captive for large corporations, maybe what brings the most is just trying to deal with volatility. Probably volatility is one of the factors that more people in the financial industry, in the capital markets, are afraid of. So an instrument like a captive just allows these large corporations to have the volatility more or less under control. Bring certainty in this volatility. It's one of the things that we can do from the captive. Moreover, everything that these large corporations cannot place in the insurance market because are maybe some risks that are uninsurable at certain point in time, or maybe they can be insured but with an overprice. An instrument like a captive just allows these corporations to have stability, knowing and control all this, not just the price, but also just the taking of the risk on a long-term basis.
Santiago, with your experience resolving complex risk problems, how do you see captives evolving from operational risk transfer vehicles into business enablers that support growth and ESG, the so-called environmental, social, and governance resilience?
I see that probably when we started a long time ago, as a captive managers, we only had this operational risk transfer. But just learning and knowing better our just parent company enabled all the captive, I would say, not just ourselves, all the captive, two main things. One is resilience. And now you mentioned ESG, but I will exclude ESG. ESG is now. Maybe 50 years we don't have ESG, and maybe in 100 years we don't have ESG, we'll have another thing. But what will be in common, it's some sort of risk or challenge that companies are not used to that. Captive, because of this long term, helps a lot for this resilience. How? Enabling just the growth of the company. Why? Because as a captive, we accumulate capital, we manage capital, we try just to be stable on the uncertainty of our parent company by having this capital that is needed for our parent company to grow. We can provide these two things. First, stability, and second, resilience when things are getting wrong, not just for ESG, just in general. And the third thing, which is I think is crucial now, and it changed a lot in the last 20 or 30 years, it's that our parent companies to grow, they need to go normally to the capital markets to finance operations. And when you go to capital markets, you need to give the investors certainty. And for sure, more and more captive are seen like a certainty tool for our CFOs when they go to the capital market and they try to finance either directly on the capital market or just doing some bonds. And that's economically driven. It's a really big impact on the cost of financing of our parent companies.
For industries exposed to geopolitical and supply chain energy volatility, commodities, agriculture, how can captives help them anticipate and absorb emerging global risk more effectively than the traditional solutions? What is your take on that?
Look, I would say that that's the nature of having a captive. A captive by nature is just this type of company that we try to anticipate unknown risk that may come, that we try to give, again, stability to the volatile business that our parent company has. So precisely for companies with unexpected geopolitical risk, supply chain, energy, as you say, commodities, or agriculture, exposed to natural catastrophes. We are the ones trying to anticipate that, what is unknown, and give stability. If you go to the traditional solutions, more than anticipating risk, they are reacting to risk. When they have something new, they have first to price and then see if they can accept or not this new risk. We, on the opposite side, it's just the opposite. Everything that cannot put on the traditional market, we have to take it. Why? Because in our nature is that opposed to pay every year a good dividend to our shareholder, we are there just to keep capital, just to overcome things that are known, but we know for sure that they will come. So this is the big difference with the traditional solutions. Traditional solutions, they have to sit in front of the investors quarter by quarter and give results. That's not our goal. Our goal is not make just huge profit for our shareholder every quarter, but give certainty to them and just keep and manage properly our capital to anticipate this unknown risk. That's a big difference with traditional markets. Traditional markets, they don't accept new risk if they don't price. And if they do accept, it's with the outside price of the market. We, on the other side, we do both. We accept everything from our parent company and, of course, at the right price.
Great. That sounds like a good solution to me.
You never know, but that's
yeah. I wanted to ask you, what kind of advice would you give to young financial leaders who want to work at the intersection of risk, technology, and energy? What would you tell them today?
That's fantastic question now, especially in those days. Well, I would say, first, if a young guy gonna be a leader, probably the first advice would be, if you are a leader, you have to know that you will not be super expert in any field. Oppose, you will be probably expert to manage a lot of things without being a super expert of each field. That would be probably the first thing for this young guy. Second thing, I would say, learn how the language communicates between these three silos that you want to learn: risk, technology, and energy. Try to find common areas in all these three things if you love them. What type of common areas, I would say? A human being is just making things starting with energy. Everything has to be powered by energy to do something. But when you do something, there is a risk attached to this something. And this is where the risk comes in. Not just the build, but also get to know what is the risk of build when you are building the thing. And of course, nowadays, and also since the history of mankind, just technology enables just to speed up both the build up, but the risk. So combining these three things together, it's amazing because you can see from A to Z every process in life that you like without being expert in any of them, but probably good, being a good, let's say, knowledgeable person in all of them. So this is what I would say to these young financial leaders in finance.
That's a very wise advice, I have to say, and very true. Santiago, you're also an expert for blockchain and insurance innovation. So, with your permission, I'd like to move on to our next subject.